question is,
Oh.
I did a comparison between Auro 3D up mixer, so Auro-matic, the Dolby surround up mixer, and Neural X, DTS Neural X. And so the question is, I think people want to know which one is better, right? Which one's better? And then the question after that is like, what do you consider better, right? Like what determines what is better? And so to me, I looked at a few things. Like first, which one was the most accurate to the source? Right? Which one changed the tonality and all that the least? Next is which one is the most accurate when it comes to psychoacoustic principles, right? So a lot of times we don't know what accurate is because there's no reference. So which one makes the most sense logically, right? And then third is what do you like, right? So you can't really argue with what somebody likes. If they can, everything could be wrong and they can still like it, and that's what it is. Press that button, right? Use whatever you like. So first, Auro. So first thing I want to know, let you guys know is I heard in their conversation, Gene and Shane, they were talking about the Storm audio processor and their Trinov, and they're saying how they could adjust stuff with Auro. And I just wanted to make it clear that you can do that on pretty much anything with Auro-matic. So even on a Denon X4500H, 4700H, you do have those options to change it from different modes and levels, right? The other thing is with Auro, want to make it clear that the recommendation is for that 30-degree angle above, right? For the speakers. One thing that Gene said was that it sounded to him, he did a test where he upmixed some content, stereo content, and he turned off all like his left, center, and right, and he wanted to see like what sounds, like what were the differences in sounds, and he said that it sounded Auro sounded kind of like stereo. What do you call it? All channel stereo. All channel stereo.
Sorry.
And so I did some testing, and I would say that yes and no, but mostly no, right? Yes and no, mostly no. And the difference is that it doesn't play all the sounds at the same level. So that's a big difference, right?
Yeah.
And all the sound is not coming, like let's say if it expands the left speaker to the left surround and the left rear, it's not playing all those at the same level, and it's not playing them at the same time. That's what all channel stereo does. So it doesn't do that. Also, when you're using the Auro up mixer, it maintains your front stage. When you try to do that with all what is it called? All channel stereo?
Like 5-channel stereo,
7-channel whatever it's called.
I know on Yamaha's it's like party mode. You hit party mode and it just plays.
It's just everything. Yeah.
It's no longer front stage, right? It's just everywhere.
It's just all around you.
It's a mess. Inaccurate to say that. Mess. That is not what it is.
It's a hot mess.
It doesn't do that. Okay, so to be clear, so yes, there is duplication that's happening, meaning they're taking some of the stuff that's from the base layer and replicating it up. Mm-hmm. But the fact there's some things that are very different, and one is that you would expect that if you're playing the same content with nearby speakers, you're going to get some comb filtering, right? Everybody knows, like you play sound from two speakers, there's going to be some frequencies that actually start canceling each other. That's an issue.
If they're playing identical information.
Exactly.
Which,
so it can
are in the like 5-7 channel without any delay, right?
And so that's something I did not notice, and nobody complains that you're getting those like phase comb filtering issues, right? Mm-hmm. The other thing is that I have my notes here. So lower level of heights maintain the dominance. So that's important to note that it's not the same level. Whatever is happening in the height speakers is much lower in level in comparison. So if you turn off your ear level speakers, you wouldn't know that because it's much lower. The height speakers are much lower relative to those. So that's the other thing. Other thing is there's a delay applied to the heights, right? Height speakers, which is psychoacoustically correct. So I think a lot of people would say, well, if you're going to play the same content on the height channel and the ear level, well, that's going to smear, right? You're no longer going to have that clear center image. But because there's a delay in psychoacoustics, we know that there's a priority on where the sound came from first, right? So if you have a speaker and it's near a wall and it plays a sound, but then you get a reflection off your sidewall, you still know where the sound is coming from because it's where the initial sound came from, despite the reflection also coming at you. So that I think they're kind of replicating that. So the initial sound will always come from the main ear level speaker, and then you'll hear it later on in in the high channels, right? So that also kind of fixes that comb filtering effect that you may have. I think that the delay might be based on the content. So I don't know if it's a fixed amount of delay or if it's based on the content. The patent suggests that it's based on the content, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
Again,
Wilfred
these
ain't going to give up that information.
Yeah, I know. So here's the thing: is we're reverse engineering this stuff. They're not coming out and telling. I've asked directly, "Is this what happens? Is this?"
Yeah.
And they're like,
I
they say, "I don't know." Right? So we're trying to figure it out. So here's another thing, because it's dang, this is annoying.
Yeah,
so
true.
because it's a full range, right?
At least the
so,
audio's there.
Yeah, that's okay. All you need is the audio. So the fact that it's full range means that if you have some huge speakers up there, it'll play down to 20 hertz in the up mix, right? And so I've done tests where I'm doing sweeps from low to high, and it'll play all the frequencies that that speaker can play. And that's one thing that I think that the other ones cannot do, right? Again, no audible artifacts with this one, and I think it reacts differently between stereo and multi-channel upmixing. So when I do the stereo upmix, I do hear like vocals in the height speakers, which people complain about. But in my testing, I did a binaural demo where, I went up near the ceiling and you can hear my voice. Like you can hear somebody's voice from up there. That's a normal thing that happens. I think that when you're using multi-channel, it doesn't do that unless you have a center height, right? So there is some steering going on. The other thing to know is that it seems that Auro upmixing is louder and it has more bass. So make sure to not let that sway you if you're trying to decide between them. Of course, when it's louder, you automatically think most people think it's better. Mm-hmm. So careful of that. That's one thing that you have to just be knowledgeable of. Now, so Dolby surround upmixer. So I did some of the same tests with that one, and what I noticed is that it'll only play uncorrelated sound, right? So uncorrelated means that sound that is not common between the left and right speaker, right? Mm-hmm. If it's common, it won't put it up there. It's kind of like one of the basic filters that it uses. So the problem with that is you're not going to get any spatial panning. So if something goes from left, center, and right, what I notice is if it's panned all the way to the left, that's uncorrelated, right? It'll put that into all the height speakers. It's not like it's going to put it into the left height, which it seems like it should. And that's one thing that Auro does seem to maintain is if I play something left, center, right, and it moves left to right, it still does that on the height channel. Whereas the other ones, it doesn't. Okay, so what else? Limited frequency range to prevent the comb filtering. I don't know if it's different in the multi-channel upmix, but it does seem very limited. Like very rarely will you hear any bass up there with the Dolby surround upmixer. And last, lots of artifacts. So depending on the sounds and where it cuts off the frequencies, you can hear some low. It sounds like a low quality like MP3 sound, kind of like you hear some crackling weird stuff.
I know what you're talking about. You mean like 10 years of Audioholics videos?
Oh, gunshots.
Oh,
all right. So
there we go.
Neural X also uncorrelated. Now this one's the one that I thought was the most interesting in the way they did it. Is it seemed like so I would pan a sound left and right, and it would play it like if I pan it hard right, it would play it into the heights channels briefly. But if you keep it there at the same tone, it'll go away. So it's almost like a time limit, right? If you don't keep changing the sound, it'll go away. Does that make sense? Right. So if you put a sound that's uncorrelated, it'll play the sound briefly, but unless the sound changes or moves, it'll take it out of the high channels. And that's what I think causes the pumping sound. So Gene was mentioning he hears pumping, kind of like it's going in and out kind of deal. And I think that that's the reason. So anyway, I personally prefer Auro because the tonality to me stays the same. If you think about what Gene was saying in his video, he was saying, well, it's taking these certain sounds and putting it up here, right? Well, that's totally changing the tonality at those frequencies, right? If you think about it, if you're picking and choosing certain sounds and putting those into more speakers, well, those are going to get louder because they're in more speakers. But how do you know which ones to choose? right? So if you're choosing specific ones, then it'll just basically change the tonality. So I'll make a video about this and I'll show all this without this thing cutting out. But I think also psychoacoustically it's more correct, right? If you go up to the height of your room, have somebody talk. Tell me if you can hear a voice up there, right? You should be able to hear their voice from up there too, and so I think that's more technically accurate. And last preference, I think it just sounds better to me and to others who have tried it, many others. And it's not somebody pay. It's no conspiracy here. Nobody's paying me anything from Auro. I just prefer it. You know what I mean? Dolby's the big marketing engine, not Auro.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's it. That's all I got.